Whoops. There we go. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. It's me, Mitch. Welcome to Morning Coffee with Mitch, and Sunday morning. It's a beautiful morning here in Florida. Having our usual summertime weather. Beautiful mornings, afternoon thunderstorms. It's a beautiful thing. So, my friends, without further ado, drink it if you got it. I'm going to try to reach the button with my right hand here. Let's see. It's this button here. Yes. All right. Getting better, getting better. And I'll drink it too. And Rick, you refer to professional show business? We try. We try. Everybody pouring in. Yes, yes, yes. And now we will fade the music out. I have Wendy, Burrow Grandma, in the green room, and we'll bring her in a few minutes after we get done saying hi to people. Not everybody, but and we'll find out all about her. For those of you that don't know, she has a YouTube channel, and many of you probably watch her channel, and I probably have to fess up to the fact that I haven't really been watching her videos or live streams. I can't. And one of the reasons that I really enjoy this Sunday morning thing is it broadens my sphere of influencers, no matter how small or large they are. Because once I get to know somebody a little bit personally, with a face-to-face, then I'll want to keep an eye on them and watch their channel. And one great example of that is, two great examples. Rick and Thomas, Target Prime and Charger Mopar. Charger Mopar. Wait a second. Still trying to work the mixer with the right hand. We'll get there. There you go, Rick. Good morning to you. And now I participated in Rick's live stream because I've really gotten to know him, and same thing with Thomas, and probably Wendy as well in the future. So if you don't know a lot about her, even though I hate to admit it, I did go look at her channel just to see if I could get a clue. I know her from the chat, but as far as putting a personality and a face to the name, this is how you got to do it. So hopefully after this morning, we'll all add Wendy, and hopefully she'll see her channel grow a little bit. She's busy going, yeah. All right. I never thought, it's interesting, I never thought I'd be that guy. Because I don't have that big of an ego, believe it or not. I never thought I'd be that guy who could bestow success onto a YouTube channel by my sheer presence. But I may not have a lot of influence, but I do drag some people along with me, the misfit crowds. So when we start talking more about people here, I think it really helps. I would like to think that it helps more than it hurts. And I watched Rick's live stream on Saturday for about an hour and a half and participated. I don't participate in the chat like you guys do constantly. I like to sit and relax and just watch sometimes. Rick was up to 70 something people. Now, granted, there was controversy, a lot of controversy. The Rick kerfuffle, and people love that. That's drama, and there was plenty of it. In fact, it was all I could do to keep from chiming in on that issue. I even got up my camera. I recorded a short little video, and I was going to post it, but then I said, "Nope, bitch, stay out of it. Stay out of it. It's not your fight." I seem to find myself in the middle because Curry was in my last live stream, sent me a super chat and talked about that. I think he doesn't like it any more than Rick likes it. The two of those guys, from what I understand, used to be great friends. And Rick has known Curry a lot longer than I have. But I decided to stay out of it, except and let them figure out a way to hash it out among themselves. That I couldn't be the bad guy. But it always reminded me of my grandmother. When some older, and I am older than both of you, authority figure with some wisdom would chime in, especially when my sister and I were always at each other's throats, with the famous words, "Play nice, kiddies, don't fight." And that's what I felt like yelling yesterday. So guys, I know you'll work it out. You're both great people. You both have the greatest of intentions. We all aggravate each other sometimes. Even people in the same family, mothers, sons, daughters, sisters, brothers, are at each other's throats. It's the normal human condition. So I'll tell you what, before I start saying hi to everybody, let me do this real quick, and then we'll bring Wendy in. Let me go over to chat here real quick, see who was in last night. Mary M. was first. Proud American was second. Lori was here. How you doing, Lori, last night? Rick chimed in. Peter chimed in. Michael Prigler chimed in about 10 o'clock. Our guest, Wendy, chimed in. Cliff Medina. Hi, Cliff. How you doing? He chimed in last night, right in the middle of the night. Lady June, early morning over in the United Kingdom. Jem chimed in late at night on the West Coast. And they're all over the world. Tori Sue chimed in the middle of the night. Mike Seeley, what time was that? 3:49 a.m. Early riser Mike Seeley. Chris Swain from Australia chimed in from tomorrow. And 6 o'clock in the morning, we had Peter. Peter said, "Oh crap, I'm ranked number one." And then Rick chimed in. Hi, Rick. How you doing? All right. It was quick on the button that time. And says, "Don't worry, Peter. It never lasts." It's like most things in life. Whenever you get to be number one, that basically means, in most instances, you are the prime target for everybody else to shoot at. Snoopy 420's here. How you doing? Good Sunday morning from here to there. And Mike Silly Sr.'s here. And Rick and Wendy chimed in again, says, "I'm a little early." Well, we got right down to the wire. She had a little technical issue and got it all straightened out. We got her on here. I had about 2.5 minutes to go. And she's patiently waiting. And I know she's got a lot to say. And Lady June decided she wanted to be number one. I don't know if she is. No, Peter's number one right now. But she said, are we competing for the crown now? Must post more. I love it. I love it. I'm glad none of you guys take this all too seriously. And Smoothie says, you never beat Rick or Peter. And Francine Bourgeois is here from Canada. Calls us all secondhand vegans. And we are. We eat vegans. Vegans need to be very careful how they offend us. If they take all our meat away, they might be endangered. I question from Tina. I'll do this real quick. I'm experiencing oxalate dumping, skin in my eyes burning and itchy, picking the tiny spikes in the corner of a first from me 1 year, 4 months carnivore. Any suggestions? No, nothing you can do about it. You can follow Sally Norton's advice, slow it down by adding a small amount back in your diet to slow down the dumping. I've been plagued with various forms of oxalate dumping for a long time. I still am, I think. I almost think that could have been a cause of my stroke as much as anything else. So, but I've never had it so bad. I've had the rashes, I've had the kidney stones, I've had everything. The kidney stones are getting better, but that means that those oxalates are coming out of the kidney stones and going God knows where. I can't tell you. I would tell you just, I've got Sally Norton's book here. I've got it's a great resource. Toxic Superfoods. You can get this. It's a book I think every carnivore should have because it's a universal problem, this oxalate dumping. But you get through it eventually. And you can slow it down by eating some oxalates. Hope that answers your question. Retired Rick is here before the bell. And no, I'm sorry. Claudia Burkick was right here before the bell. And Rick, my friend, you are the winner. You're the winner today. And Wayne Herman came in and said, should be about 8:30. You're right, Wayne. You're right. And I'm going to stop it there. Got a billion people to say hi to, but most important, I want to say hi to Wendy. So I'll go ahead and switch me over to this view. Get rid of Wayne Herman's comment. Clean up everything. Get that stupid banner off the bottom of the page. There you go. I think we're ready. So here we go.
Good morning.
Good morning, Wendy. How you doing?
Well, I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah. Drink it if you got it.
Caffeine.
No, I'm drinking.
Sacred alkaloid.
I got off of it, I think, finally. It's been over 2 weeks, and I'm very happy with the decaf. And I think it's helped my afternoon energy crash. I still don't have any more energy, but I have it consistently through the day now instead of when the caffeine wears off. And we normally, those of us that have drank a lot of coffee in the past, would head for the pot to get a refill. That's like a sugar fix, too. And I think my body is now making whatever neurotransmitter chemical that caffeine has replaced, and it's much better. And doing the decaf, I get a tiny little bit of caffeine, like 2%, they say, of the amount of caffeine that's in a regular cup of coffee. Okay, that's great. That means I could drink 50 cups of this, and you have the same amount of caffeine as in 1 cup of regular coffee. Not that I want to drink that much, but it makes it seem pretty insignificant. So I don't know if you want to get off caffeine or not, but it's not too bad, at least for me. I guess I wasn't too hardly addicted to it because I didn't have the headaches and a lot of the other withdrawal symptoms. Have you ever tried to give it up?
Able to drink decaf, But by the time I get some egg yolks and maybe cream, maybe not, and a bunch of ice cubes in there, why bother?
I guess. Yeah, but all that stuff is good for you. So what I'm going to do the traditional hi, who are you, where you're from, how'd you find nonsense, and let you tell us a bit about yourselves for those people who don't know you too well, and then you and I are going to go and basically interact with the rest of the people, because that's kind of what we do here. This is not an interview. You're not on the spot. Have a good time.
Oh, fun. Well, I was born on an Air Force base in Massachusetts. I don't know if it's still Air Force or if it's one of those mixed-use bases or what, but I was born on Otis Air Force Base out on Cape Cod.
Oh, okay. I
And
never heard of that.
we left before I was 2 months old. I've been moving ever since.
Where are you now?
Currently, I am in Central Texas, a little bit north of Austin. Horrible place to be. It's California East.
Yeah. I thought they were holding their own pretty good against that onslaught, but not in cities like Austin and places like that, I imagine.
And things are not in Austin for sure, but things are turning black, white, and gray everywhere.
Really?
The same stuff might be the same developers that Rick has things to say about. It's ugly.
Oh, I'd hate to see Texas go that way, because Texas is, at least I'm in Florida, and I'm very happy about the things they're doing in Florida. But every election, we always have the threat of some crazy, not to get into politics, but some crazy liberal running for governor that could actually ruin everything in this state in a week, should he get elected. And
We had one of those a while back. They called it Beto.
oh yeah, but
We're glad not to have him in office. What can I say?
well, that's the problem with. I understand the free elections are great, and then the will of the people is supposed to decide things, but the margins between the will of the lunatics and the will of the sane people is razor thin, and they do manage to take hold. The tactics, as far as I'm concerned, are always despicable, but they manage to take hold. And God, I don't want to talk politics, but anybody who doesn't, it isn't obvious to anybody what our last president did to this country.
Yep.
I shouldn't even want to live here anymore, and most of them don't. Well,
And
instead
he
of
got
trying to,
inserted. I think you could really call his term in office elder abuse.
I believe so. I think he was.
Manipulated and told what to do and controlled.
Yeah, I agree, but with all the biased press and political correctness and everything else, you're afraid to open your mouth these days. You're afraid you'd be labeled this, labeled that, accused of this. You're this denier, that denier. It's supposed to be a free country, but it didn't seem like one over the last 4 years. But anyway, that's politics. Most of the people in our sphere are conservative. Conservative people tend to not go for all this wacko stuff, but we still have many liberals in our sphere, and I love them all. I don't hate them. There's different stages.
Yeah.
My father was a Democrat.
Now, the carnivore world has Rick. Rick does not fall off his bicycle without trees being involved.
Oh, whatever. It doesn't matter. That doesn't matter to me as long as they got some common sense. That's what I value more than anything. You can't be too black and white.
We got to stop calling it that because it's not common anymore.
Well, I guess uncommon sense. People People can't be wrong 100% of the time. They say even a broken clock is right twice a day. And I mean that. We can't, just because somebody happens to lean a little more liberal, I'm kind of, I wouldn't say I'm far right. I'm not far right. I'm not even all the way right, because there are things that liberals used to believe in that
Yeah.
they don't seem to believe in anymore. Certain freedoms that liberals, they were always champions of free speech, as was I. But it seems like they've given up championing all those causes for the power agenda, because you just look what they managed, look how they managed to set the system up. No matter who got in to be president, like Trump, they some lunatic judge in some podunk county somewhere could stop executive agendas. He would make an executive order, somebody sue somebody, judge shopping in some little district, federal court in a district somewhere, and all of a sudden the whole country had to obey. And the president of the United States had to back off and stop because they've just reversed that in the Supreme Court, but not without the 3 liberal justices spouting the most absurd dissents that I've ever heard in my life. So it hasn't gone away yet. We haven't fixed it, but we're gnawing away at it. And but if you look at history, this is the scary part. The more we gnaw away at it, and the more controversy that creates, the more so many of these people that are on the fence will say, I'm going back the other way. And that's why every midterm we seem to change power. Every presidential election we seem to change power. Everybody wants change. They just don't know change to what. Sometimes things can change from good to bad. That's change too. You can't just campaign saying, vote for me, we're the party of change. That doesn't mean anything.
That's why politicians have to be changed frequently, just like diapers, and for the same reason.
No, but sometimes you almost have to think, and it's un-American to say this. It's un-American to say this, but you almost have to look at and say that in some cases with the right people, a beneficial almost dictatorship can be a hell of a lot better. But the problem is you find the person. And I'm not saying, I don't think that even Donald Trump or anybody is that person. So that's a dangerous thing to do too, because you see it in all these other countries. These people elect somebody and they get so excited about them. They make them ruler or president for life. And then that goes right to their head. They become a tyrant and screw up everything. So we still have the best system now, I believe, and I don't think we should change the fundamentals of it, even though they keep trying, pack the Supreme Court, do all these different things to change the way the system works, to weigh the odds in their favor anymore. And that's why I'm a conservative. Because I mean, we pull dirty tricks too, but in the dirty trick department, we are in kindergarten, and these people have PhDs. That's all I can say. Sorry about that. Don't mean to wax poetic about politics.
Oh, you put it nicer than I would have.
Well, I have to be tactful. I have my own opinions, but if I said that,
I'm a big believer in 3 boxes.
anybody that says, if I'm in a precarious position, I have to not offend anybody too bad. I can disagree with them, but I can't say things like, you're stupid, some guys do that and they get away with it. I don't want to do that. I can't disrespect somebody because we happen to have a different opinion. And of course, the 2 most controversial subjects in the world are politics and religion. And I certainly have my views on both of those. And unfortunately, for trying to fit in with society, my views on both of those don't agree with the majority of people out there. But I don't want to offend those people.
But those two topics have been ruining family holidays since forever.
Oh, yes, of course they are. And imagine if they break up a family, what'll happen to the misfits? If I start coming out here and preaching my views on religion and politics, I talk about it every once in a while. I'm not ashamed of it. But the closest I ever come to religion is when I talk about evolution. And boy, I get so much heat for that. So much heat for that. And I have my opinion and my own research. And I happen to believe what I believe. And just because somebody has a different belief and tells me you're wrong, that's not going to change my belief. My beliefs are forged in science and evidence. And I've been studying this for, how old am I now? 78. I've been studying this for more than 60 years. I have seen most, if not all, one place of the evidence, both in genetics and in the fossil record and everything else, to support the concept of evolution. And the Bible is supporting the other version of it. If your faith in the Bible is that strong, I envy people that. I keep telling people that. I wish I could be that certain of those things. But I didn't come from that, so I can't. But do I tell people, you're wrong, you can't believe that, you're stupid? No. Some of the smartest people in the world are some of the most religious. You can't just say it. And I always like those movies with George Burns and Morgan Freeman about, oh God.
Yep.
And the protagonist in the movie, of course, always wouldn't believe him when they first came out. Yeah, yeah, right, you're God. And then looks down at the sand, he's got 7 fingers. Whoops. Something like that to me, I'd be a believer in a hot New York second, because that's firsthand evidence. That's evidence you yourself. If it wasn't from a mental disorder that causes hallucinations, like schizophrenia, you see things and people, you talk to people that aren't there, you have invisible friends, you hear voices. That's a mental disorder. It's proven. We can watch it on PET scans. We can see the brain lighten up when that happens. There are those people who said, that's God talking. Okay, far be it from me. It might be. It might be. And I'll change my whole belief in a second when I see what I think is proof. But when I walk into a museum of natural history and come face to face with the bones of a Tyrannosaurus Rex in the lobby that's 20 feet tall, and I have to have 2 thoughts: are these real bones, or did somebody build this out of polyester and fiberglass? And then I walk through the museum and I see just hundreds of thousands of artifacts. This is just one museum. I grew up in Philadelphia. When all the other kids were out doing whatever they did on a Saturday, I went to them every weekend. I went to a museum, art museum, natural history museum. I was fascinated by this stuff. The Benjamin Franklin Institute. And I learned, and I saw these things firsthand. All of the stone tools, from on this hand the Neanderthal stone tools, and on this hand the Homo sapien stone tools. And I said, how do you know? How did they? I'm curious. How could they tell which ones for sure that the Neanderthals made?
Skulls they found these tools with.
Yeah, that. But even more, that was a clue, and that's what the archaeology, what the artifacts tell us: the shape of the bones, the shape of the skull. But even adding to that, even adding to the validity of that, is where they find them. Because as different species died off, and you're digging, you could identify how far back you're digging by the contents of the soil and everything. That's how we know when the dinosaurs got it, because there's a layer of iridium, which is an element not found in great quantity on the Earth, at something called the KT boundary, 66 million years ago. When that asteroid hit in the Yucatan Peninsula, it threw up so much stuff that it went circled the globe and deposited a layer of iridium that was on the surface 66 million years ago. Everywhere you go on planet Earth and dig, you will eventually find that layer of iridium. You know, to the year even, how old that is. Whatever you find below that layer, you know, existed longer ago than 66 million years. That's how we dated the dinosaurs, with no doubt, because anywhere in the world we found dinosaurs, they've always been below the KT boundary, the Cretaceous Tertiary boundary, and not a single dinosaur bone has ever been found above it. Well, the same thing is true in more recent history. The Neanderthals died off 30 to 40,000 years ago. So if you find a stone tool in an area that the Neanderthals were known to live in, there weren't many of them, there were just a few thousand of them basically, and you find the stone tools, they're Neanderthal tools. If you find stone tools above the layer of Earth, it's like rings on a tree that have been less than 30,000 years. They have to be Homo sapien stone tools. And you can also see a difference in the stone tools as well. This is archaeology, anthropology. This is the type of science that most people who believe in evolution rely on. Now we've got genetics on top of it. So I don't expect everybody to do the kind of research I did or become almost a scientist like I did, but I don't want to have them call me a heretic if I talk about the things I've learned, and I get a lot of that. And that's the only hurtful thing that bothers me, is how quick people are, from a religious point of view, to call me a bad guy and a heretic and I should be burned at the stake. And that's kind of what they did to the witches in Salem.
And yet we're taught to fear the witches and not the people who burned them.
No, of course. So everybody's free to believe what they want, and that doesn't make them a bad person either, until they try to hurt people in the name of their religion, and that's where we have all the problems today. And that I just can't be happy with that. Enough religion. We got, Rick says, black cat. Oh, we got a lot of cat lovers.
Eat the Chihuahua.
Yeah, we got a lot of cat lovers here. Well, I haven't done anything to look at the chat. I've been espousing all these forbidden topics this morning, but I haven't scared everybody away. Rick says, entropy ensures that spontaneous evolution is impossible. Well, see, this is where I admire Rick. He's a very intelligent guy. But in that case, Rick, my opinion, and I wrote a whole book about it, explaining it. My book, Taming the Beast Within, that I wrote 23 years ago, tells you exactly why we miss the conventional view of entropy would preclude anything from getting built and developing. It would preclude everything in the universe, because the universe started as pure hydrogen. See, this is where the religion and the science differs. The universe, even if you believe the Big Bang or something like it, everything in our universe came from the original hydrogen, and it changed and became more complex. So entropy doesn't stop that stuff. But I don't want to argue with you. You're a smart guy. You have the reasons, you have your opinion, but you and I would not be alive. We could not have developed into something this complex as a human being from something just a simple embryo, if entropy dictated that something can only go from a complicated to an uncomplicated state. How did we get here? enough of that. I don't want to argue that point or debate that point, but it doesn't make sense to me. Entropy is a real thing. Is a real thing. The laws of thermodynamics are real things. But if you really do a deep dive in them, you'll find out that only under certain circumstances can you actually apply that math to it. And if nothing in the universe could go from a state of confusion to a state of order, where'd all the order that we have come from? Because those original hydrogen atoms right now, back then, are now part of everything in our real and observable world. So then you get the people who come in and say, well, we're living in a simulation like the Matrix anyway, so nothing's real. But, or aliens brought it here.
I don't buy the simulation business.
Oh, I agree with you. I agree with you.
That's even sillier than a lot of other things I hear. But
Well,
I figured if there's a God, then God is big enough to use all these other things to our advantage.
well, I think I agree. I agree, and I think that my view, and I've said this before, aligns pretty much with Kiltz's view. We use the word God. It means too many things, and on the planet Earth, I think we've been in all identified. I heard somebody say 6,000 different gods.
I don't think we need that many.
Well, we don't even. I don't even think we need one. But I think the concept of God, a maker, a creator, I don't think it could be. And again, I'm going to get a lot of heat for it. I don't think it could be anything conscious or controlling, because everything that happened to get us here, and probably one of the few places in the universe that did happen, was just up to chance. And I mean, the odds of us being here today, when you look back billions of years, you'd have to say it never happened. Well, it did happen, and we have chronicled how it happened. Amazingly, with the science, and you have to put a little bit of conjecture in there. But in my book, I wrote one paragraph that said, just because something hasn't been discovered yet doesn't mean it didn't happen. Everything undiscovered has been waiting to be discovered all along. And we have new discoveries every day of things we didn't know yesterday, and we haven't even scratched the surface yet in our understanding. But just because somebody hasn't discovered something yet doesn't mean it doesn't exist. The time frame of our evolution, of course, has to go back about 3 billion years. And people say, well, it's impossible. Well, it's not impossible, because here we are. We had to get here somehow. Since I was 10 years old, my big question about God was, God created everything. And my question was, who created God? Where did God come from? If this could not have happened without God, how could God have happened without something else? So is there an infinite number of gods creating gods? We got 6,000 versions of God. The biggest religion in the world is Christianity, coming in about 28% of the world population. So are we arrogant enough? And I'm including the Jews and the Christians in there, because very similar religion, Judeo-Christian. Are we arrogant enough to say that we're in the minority, but we know we're right, and we need, and everybody else is wrong, and we need to kill them? I know that back in ancient Greece, they used to worship the sun god. They had all these different gods. God to me is a word that is a kind of a catch-all to explain everything we don't understand. And I don't think too many people will disagree with us. We have created stories about 6,000 different gods, where they came from, how much power they have, what they do. That became part of our culture. That's embedded in our ideology. We believe it as strongly as we believe it's there, which is why I never try to take somebody's God away from them. I will not debate the fact with anybody. I tell them, does God bring you comfort? And they say, yes. I say, I envy you. I envy you. Let's stop talking about it. I do not want to take that comfort away from you. I wish I had it, but I don't. I don't. We can't always believe what we want to believe when everything we know tells us it's not possible. So God is a term, and what does it mean? Who is it? What are they talking about? Even the Catholic Church in 1976, the Pope decreed the Catholic, look it up, the Catholic Church finds no conflict between a Christian faith and evolution. The Pope said that. Okay, I mean, that's a high authority in the church, but it's still just his opinion. It's because many Catholics disagree terribly with him. Everybody, it's stories. That's all we have, basically, stories that have come up to us. And you pick what you want to believe, whatever makes you most comfortable, whatever you can believe in. If it enriches your life, if you believe in heaven and hell, I don't care. That doesn't affect me. But don't get it in an airplane and fly it into my house because a Jew lives here and you want to kill him. You know, that to me is kind of not the way to be a religious person. Yet it's the cause of most wars, especially in the Middle East, where it all comes from.
They're so busy blowing up each other's sand that I really don't care what they think.
Well, I don't care what they think until they blow up the World Trade Center and kill 3,000 people. You know, I mean, that's the problem. They kept it to themselves. If they just, you want to fight so-and-so, go fight me. Hell, I'll rent you the stadium for the evening. And you go in there and kill each other off. I don't care. But when you come after me because I don't believe what you believe, now we got a problem. And that's what happens. And look back in history at all the wars. There's two reasons to go to war: to steal what the other guys got, territorial things, and ideological reasons. And those are all religion. My God can beat up your God. My God told me you're an infidel and you need to be killed. I'm sorry. We don't need that conflict, but it comes from our culture. The real point, salient point that I say to people that you must think about is if you try to grasp the reality of how we got here, how can this clump of chemical compounds, all made up of the basic atoms, and most of them carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, we are carbohydrates, even though not all carbohydrates are sugar, but anytime you hydrate carbon, you've got organic chemistry. All our fats are made up of carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen. All our sugars
made up of atoms.
Yeah, all made up of atoms.
The atoms from going whoosh.
Yeah. So well, that's why I say that I don't believe that entropy. I think it stopped short of explaining how all the complex stuff got here without the interference of a builder. And that's where people say God did it. And they're happy with that. And, and that's the way it's been ever since humans started to think and be curious. And that was about 1 minute ago, well, maybe 10 seconds ago in the time frame from the beginning of everything. So all of this stuff, if there is a God, we were never aware. Nobody. We weren't even able to be aware. We weren't conscious. We weren't sentient. We're new. And we're arrogant and we think we're so smart and we know everything. That's why I'm just fascinated by this stuff, and every bit of reality that anybody would ever want to see is on YouTube if you look for it. If you look for it, uh, fabulous videos about the science. So, like I say, everybody live and let live is something most people can't do. Everybody, my way or the highway. You know, that's sad. Well, here I am talking about religion and politics for the whole show with you. Tell me, how long have you been doing this?
Religion or politics?
No, carnivore. This is a carnivore channel.
I'm at 3.5 years.
Okay, I'm coming up on my third carniversary. Were you keto before this, or low carb, or anything like that?
I had done Atkins, and that was working, but the family did not like the meals I was making, so that kind of fell by the wayside. So I had been keto, low carb there for a bit. But exercising did nothing to help my weight when I wasn't. So the doctors were just like a fart in the wind, you know?
Yeah.
Their opinions did not help at all.
And we all know that, we know now that exercise plays the smallest role in losing
I like
weight.
my exercise. I've years and years of martial arts. You don't do that unless you love it.
Oh yeah, and you gotta move. Movement is so very, very important. But you can lose weight in a wheelchair. Nutrition,
and people are doing it.
Yeah, nutrition, and I know that because I'm recovering from this stroke. In the hospital, eating all that sugar and everything else, and then carrying that addiction home with me, screwed up the next 3 or 4 weeks of my life. I gained about 10
lucky
pounds.
With my stroke. My stroke happened just a little ways into carnivore for me. And I used every ounce of Tai Chi I could muster up to convince them it wasn't very bad.
Oh, that's good.
They told me it was a TIA and sent me home.
Well, TIA, I wish I had a TIA. That's transient ischemic attack.
I wish I did too. I still can't walk straight.
Okay, well they told you. Yeah, well I'm recovering fine. In fact, I'm going to make a video.
I Tai Chi'd my way out of it.
Oh, okay. And you still don't know what caused your stroke, do you?
Almost 6 decades of eating all the wrong shit.
Well, that's about the closest I can come to attribute something. But of course, the medical community and the doctors, wow, of course you had a stroke. You eat meat, you eat too much meat. Look at your cholesterol. Your LDL is 350. I'm surprised you're still alive with a cholesterol like that. And that's the way they believe that.
I'm the person who introduced my children to tofu.
Yeah, God.
And several other... It makes a great substitute for scrambled eggs when you have a problem with eggs.
I used to drink green smoothies. I read all the health books. I read all the diets.
I've had green smoothies more than once, and I have that same book you were holding up.
Yeah,
I'm looking over here to see if I could spot it. I mean, but I've got a copy.
We have learned stuff we didn't know, because of some very smart and brave people that weren't afraid to go up against the establishment. The problem is, if you make your living in that establishment, you can't go up against them. They will take your career away from you. They'll revoke your license. So the people
it doesn't pay to learn what the people who pay you don't want you to know.
And people say to me, what do you know? You didn't go to medical school. And I say to them, yeah, thank God. And I use the word God all the time. You know, I mean, it's just part of our vernacular. I say, yeah, thank God. You know, what am I supposed to say? Thank the force.
Sometimes people look at me funny, but they'll go, Jesus Christ, and they mean it as an expletive. And I'll go, what would you do if he poofed in and said, yes, what can I help you with?
You wouldn't believe it. And I say Jesus Christ all the time too, and I even use his middle name. You know, and his middle initial is F. You know, that's just the way we talk. That's part of our language. It doesn't mean it's our beliefs. It's just vernacular. It's the way people say things. So,
yeah, but people talk about the judgment. I'm like, I can't wait to get there, seriously, but I'm not in a hurry.
I believe you.
And when it comes to judgment, how many people are going to just burn themselves if they get there? The person meeting them at the gate isn't everything they think. Or maybe they're flamboyant.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
maybe they're the wrong skin tone. Or
That
maybe
might
they're
be.
whatever.
Yeah, because
And
everybody's got their own agenda. But
Yeah.
I worry about this life right now. People say, "Aren't you afraid you're going to go to hell?" I said, "Listen, first of all, I have a hard time believing in that concept. Second of all, if I was wrong, and I could be, I've tried all my life to be the best person I can be, and if that's not good enough, then to hell with it. I'm not going to sacrifice my whole life on this planet trying to conform to something that so somebody else can judge me later, and in the meantime, screwing people over left and right, because that's what so many of these people do in the name of religion. So I'd rather reality. I'd rather the truth be judged, and if that's not the case, I don't want to be there anyway. So, and nobody knows all these people that come back from these near-death experiences and all talk about seeing the light and everything else. That's all been explained scientifically so many times over, but they don't want to hear it. About what happens in your brain when you start to get deprived of oxygen, and as the brain dies, your vision goes clear white. You get tunnel vision, and it appears like you're looking down a corridor at a brain. Believe it or not, believe it, don't believe it. I don't want to think about that. I don't want to live my life based on what somebody might think of me after I'm gone. I'll let them do that based on my legacy. Chances are, Wendy, after you're gone, nobody's going to think of you. We forget so fast. We're so self-absorbed. We go on with our own. Think about your parents or great. Do you know who your great grandparents were? Great grandparents were? Do you know their names? Yeah, but can you picture them? Do you know where they live?
I have records and pictures.
Well, you're lucky. Most people don't. Most people don't. A couple generations. You think my grandchildren will ever remember me? It's sad.
Don't you already have one old enough to kind of remember you?
Well, I have. All my grandchildren are in their 20s.
Oh, okay.
I'm an old guy. So, yeah, but they're all so wrapped up in their own lives.
Yeah.
They don't even wish me happy birthday. They don't know anything about me. They don't watch my YouTube videos. They are so busy. The same thing with their parents. Their parents are lucky they can get them to say hello. That's the trend. That's technology. That's social media. All that has screwed up any long-term family identification, I think. I don't even think I don't know, maybe they know, but I don't even know if my grandchildren know I'm Jewish. They know nothing about me. Nothing. They don't care. They are off doing their thing. And they are so self-absorbed these days. And the most important thing to them is being popular among their peers, getting likes and thumbs up and tweets and being a star on social media. It's a very sad thing.
Yeah.
I never met my grandfather on my father's side. He died before I was born. I knew my mother's parents. Those were my grandparents. Some of my fondest memories of my childhood involved my grandparents. Kids today don't have that in most cases. It's sad. It's sad, but things change, and they will, and they'll become whatever they become. I can't tell you one thing I know for sure. If we don't straighten out this nutrition business, we're going to be extinct.
Yep.
How many generations it takes is up for grabs. But if we keep going down the road we're going and they'll make some major changes.
Well, we're seeing more and more young carnivores, so that kind of gives me hope.
That does. That does. Well, we're doing pretty good. We're up 25 after already. Holy cow.
Yeah, you need to look in the chat and see if there's some questions for us.
Yeah, let me do that. Let me start scrolling real quick through there. And if we're ignoring you guys, my apologies. I can't interact with the guests. Of course, I've been pontificating a lot today. That's who I am. What I do. Does that make me a pontiff?
I don't know. You don't look much like a pope to me.
No, but I pontificate.
The Pope of the Misfits.
Yeah. I don't want to be an authority figure. I don't want to be a ruler. I don't want to tell anybody what to do, and I don't want to judge them for what they do. And I think if everybody was like that, we'd have a much easier world to live in. Yeah, they're talking. I got them debating about religion. Yeah, great. I didn't mean to. Sorry, guys. Rick says, I never tell anybody they're wrong. You're right, Rick. You're a diplomat. And that's what that's the definition of being diplomatic. You've mastered the art of disagreeing with somebody without hurting their feelings and making an enemy out of them. This is interesting. Brian Dish says, Rick, what do you tell them you disagree? That's what I do. Yeah, it doesn't, you shouldn't offend somebody by saying, I disagree. You can preface that with the words, with all due respect, or some other qualifier to lighten the blow of the fact that you're going to disagree with them. But everybody disagrees about something with everybody. Nobody agrees 100% on virtually everything. That would be, even identical twins have disagreements. So just disagreeing doesn't mean you don't like somebody. It means that you came to your conclusion along a different path than they came to their conclusion. The only way to ever really settle that disagreement, where both parties will now agree, would be for each party to lay out the entirety of the path that brought them to that conclusion for consideration. That's called debate. And we just don't do that. You know, we say, I don't agree with you, and asshole. You know, that's, we don't have time for that debate. And Meditu says the Bible doesn't contradict science, in my opinion. That's a great way, because the Bible, like everything, like any book that's written today, like any book that's ever been written, is written by people that and expresses their understanding of the facts at the time the book was written. And you have to go. The Bible was written 1,000 or so years ago, maybe 1,000 to 1,500 years ago. And certainly, we didn't know what DNA was. We didn't know what atoms were. We didn't know anything. We were still trying to figure out what that fiery ball in the sky was. So, yeah,
but if you trace back what's known about tools and when different peoples did different things, we know that Abraham was Stone Age man.
Okay, it may be. It could be. None of us were there. We don't even know what happened at the peace talks yesterday. For real. Yeah. We get two versions of every story. Everything.
But
We get to
copper tools came after Israel was already in Egypt.
I don't doubt you. And those things we found through archaeology and fossils,
Yep.
and inventing the science that will let us date things. You know, people say always going to come up with, the people that disagree with you are always going to try to come up with some information contrary to your agenda. For example, carbon dating. You know, the first thing they say is, well, how do you know that's real? That's just a hoax perpetrated by people who want you to believe this or that. Well, this is politics now. This is the art of trying to discredit the other guy so that your particular side of the story can be credited. So you end up answering that. I mean, and you answer that kind of discussion with those people logically, irrefutably, and you figure I made my point, and immediately you're playing whack-a-mole.
Yeah.
They say, well, okay, I'll give you that, but how do you explain this? And they just keep coming, and they never stop with nonsense, one thing after another. And the better these people are called, there's a name for these people.
Lawyers.
Lawyers, yeah. Well, how can you have two lawyers on opposite sides of the same set of facts so wildly different in the way they portray it? That's a great example. A great example. One lawyer's got this guy as Genghis Khan reborn, and the other guy's got him as Jesus Christ reborn. How are you supposed to know? That's the game. A debate. When you're in college and you're on the debate team, they tell you what to think, and you have to use that point of view and make your case, even if it's something you don't believe. So it's all construct. It's fabricated to fit an agenda. That's the way the whole world works, and politics and religion are where it's used the most to extract the most money and get the most power over the most number of people. And that is the main objective, and still is and always will be, because we're human nature, and human nature is still, if you dig way back, is still at its essence the law of the jungle. Because people will not accept the fact that we are animals and behave like them, whether we want to or not. We try to be civilized until things just don't go our way.
Some people try to be civilized.
Yeah, some people do. Some people just don't care. But you just have to accept the reality, I think. And I don't even like to say it that way. Nobody has to do anything. You know, it would be nice if everybody just accepted the reality of our heritage, and we are still burdened with all the instinctual behavior of the animals we came from. Well, of course, if you're that religious, you don't believe we came from animals, then I can't debate you
I don't
anymore.
have a problem with it.
Well, yeah, you know, you have to. You know what I do? I look for things that are obvious. For example, we're mammals. Okay. We should have something in common with every mammal that came before us, shouldn't we? If they were and we do, not only something in common, everything in common.
Memories, hair.
A face, two eyes, one nose, one mouth, two ears, in the same place. We got four extremities with fingers and toes. We're hairy. That's just on the outside. Look at the inside. We got red blood. We got all the same organs. We got kidneys. We got a heart. We got liver. We got a brain. We got salivary glands. We eat food. We got a digestive tract. It may be different in some mammals because of the way we adapted over the period, but we have these. We are the same. We are the same. And if you go deeper than mammals, back before mammals, we're all made of cells. The makeup of those cells goes back billions of years. And they're identical inside this. The inside of a cell A single cell in a plant is the same as an animal and a mushroom. They all came from the same cell. And even before that, even smaller parts of the cell, what's inside, go back and are common. That is evolution. That explains it. That proves it. And if you don't believe what you see with your eyes, learn how to analyze DNA. And you'll find the programming for it. And that programming is like our computer programming. Same thing. I can take Windows, the most advanced version of the Windows operating system, which is huge, and show you how it evolved from the first versions of DOS. Way back on our Radio Shack computers. I can show you the same code is still in there, buried deep in subroutines.
I had one of those Radio Shack computers.
The same code that ran that is still the basis of Windows. We've just added shit to it, and that's what happened to humans. More and more was added over the top of the basics of what came before, creating new species with much more capabilities. And yet, if you look deep in the genetic programming, in the code, in the DNA, you'll find the same code we have. And this just makes the religious people crazy, the creationists. And I'm sorry, this is a fact. We know it. Our science has allowed us to see it. Maybe our science, in some respects, has not been good for the human race. You can debate that too. But
our code allows us to develop from the very earliest stage of not just a single cell anymore. The first thing everybody is an asshole.
Yeah,
some people never get past that.
Yeah. Well put. Well put. Let me give you an amen. That's funny. That's funny. So at any rate, I mean, you have to decide yourself what you believe. Make the best of your life. Be kind to other people, if nothing else. Try not to hurt anybody, which would be, that's the golden rule. That's the gold. I always have an exception to that rule too. I say to somebody, practice the golden rule unless you're a masochist. Think about that. So you're about the sadist and the masochist meet each other one day, and the masochist looks at the sadist and says, "Hurt me, hurt me." The masochist says, the sadist says, "No,
no."
We see basic wisdom goes back further in history than the Bible, which is why I've read 4 different versions of the Bible from cover to cover many times. There's a lot of wisdom. There's great stories in there. Proverbs got to be a great book because the things that held true thousands of years ago for how humans should treat each other exist in that part of the Bible. But then you turn to Leviticus. And Leviticus is basically crime and punishment. You do this, we're going to cut your dick off. You do that, we're going to cut your hand off. You do this, we're going to kill you. We're going to roast you. We're going to stone you. We're going to burn you with a stake. That's in the Bible too. So was that written by the same person? There's too many conflicting methods in the Bible and attitudes. So it's a great book, and it has come down to us. None of us have ever read the first version, the first printing. It's been modified so much over the years and added to. And with each new religion of Christianity, with each new sect, they changed the rules a little for that sect. That's the thing I really love about Christianity.
Although they all leave the verse that says, "Don't change it, not even a little bit."
Yeah, Now, the thing I love about Christianity is if you're a Christian and you just don't like the rules in your particular church, you just change the rules you don't like and form a new church. And then go to war with the old church. And I never could understand Northern Ireland, where the Catholics and the Protestants were at it, blowing each other up at every opportunity. So there's evidence that shows you that
But there's also good farming advice, good animal husbandry advice.
Of course there is. Of course, it was the almanac. It was a farmer's almanac of the time, of its day. It's the tips for living well.
Most people still don't understand the bit about it when the salt has lost its flavor. It's good for nothing but to be cast on the ground and be trodden on, right?
Yeah, okay.
That's farming advice.
Yes, they weren't dummies.
You don't want to use full-strength salt, but salt helps release nutrients that are trapped in minor particles of stone.
And the interesting thing is they didn't know why it worked, but they knew what worked so many times. The old grandmothers in Italy 100, 200, 300 years ago knew that you don't eat tomatoes without peeling the skin off of them first.
Yep.
The only way they knew that was smart was because they noticed. Well, when we peel the skin, people don't get sick. When we don't peel the skin, people get sick. Okay, that's how we've discovered everything. But this is recent history. Anything 20,000 years or newer is really
anything we have a written record of is recent.
Recent history. And I still say, you never see a Caesar salad painted on a cave wall. That's got
haven't yet, or broccoli for that matter.
Gotta tell you something. We digress again. See how easy it is? They just wander off.
Yep.
You know where I am in the chat? I haven't even got to 9 o'clock yet. Wow. Oh, all right. I'm going to look for questions. I don't think many people are going to ask us questions because I don't believe that they expect us to be able to get to them.
Talking.
But I am. And you've allowed me to theorize a little this morning and talk about my beliefs, and I appreciate that. And you have yours too. And I guarantee you we don't agree on everything, but we agree on one thing. Carnivore is better than eating the landscaping in the front yard.
Actually, I've made sure that much of my front yard is edible. If only to rabbits, because if they come by to check out the wild carrots and stuff, that's a draw that brings meat.
There you go.
I think the only thing that has actually eaten one of the wild carrots is my grandson. I think he just did it to piss off his mom.
So I see the word Terry Sue says, there's only one God, the world won't end until the Jews believe Jesus. God, see, Terry Sue, I love you. I love you dearly. I love you dearly. I disagree.
Terry, just keep praying for him.
That's it. Yeah, you can pray for me. But you have to be a Jew and imagine how that attitude is offensive to us. It would be like me saying just exactly the opposite. The world will end unless all the Christians become Jews. Nobody can say that. That's arrogance of the highest order. You've been taught that, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry that this has gotten into that deeply a religious thing, because if you start talking about religion, everybody will find something to disagree with everybody else on. It is the fifth rail of discussion. I've said I won't do it. I'm trying to do it nicely and with respect, but I don't want to lose friends over it. So we'll forget it. We won't do that again. People are praying for me. Praying is a good thing. See, I happen to believe that prayer actually works. Not the way you think, but in my book, I wrote a whole chapter about the science behind the positivity of prayer and what positivity is injected. I can't even explain it to you. But I'm sorry. I'm looking at the chat. I'm sorry I started such a controversy. I hope that I still love you all. I still love you all, and I hope you all still love me. When I say I'm Jewish, it's not even religion. I'm not religious at all. I agree with Kiltz. Kiltz, people think he's really religious because he comes all talking about God and Jesus all the time. But if you've ever taken the time to listen to what he really means, he says there is no thing that's a God. There's no entity that's a God that controls everything and builds everything. God is what we are all. We are God. We are connected to it. We are all connected to each other and connected to everything in the universe. And that's what I believe. So I'm not an atheist. I'm not an atheist at all. I'm not even an agnostic because I don't think that this thing we call God could actually be a single entity with supreme intelligence. The arguments for the existence of that don't hold water.
Are you getting butterballs?
What's that?
Oh, someone's in the kitchen.
I thought you were telling me, look out, Mitch, you're getting religious again.
Were you getting the butterballs?
Oh, you. See, WikiLeaks, this is the kind of thing. If the Jews did animal sacrifice for Christ, why did they stop? Where's the atonement for the sin? That kind of thinking is. I can't even get into a discussion like that. The question itself. Number one, how do you know what the hell they did? Were you there? None of us know what. We don't even know. Like I say, what happened yesterday around the world with all the news organizations, cameras and everything. We don't have any idea what the real truth is. How do you know what the Jews did thousands of years ago? That's absurd. It is absurd. But I'm sorry, I don't want to make an enemy of you. We're programmed from birth to believe this way and believe in this kind of thinking. Believing in what we read. I don't believe much of anything I read. I'm skeptical about everything until I figure out how to do the best I can to make sure it's real. And I'm pretty good at that. Mia2 says, Mitch, what is your PayPal name? My PayPal is my OldGuyCarnivore email address. OldGuyCarnivore@gmail.com. Thank you, Mia2s. And Rick says, yeah, Mitch is right as usual, diplomatic. I'm trying to be. I don't want anybody to be offended. Honestly, I understand why everybody believes what they believe. And if I learn more about them, I could probably explain to them why they believe that, where they first heard it, and why it makes sense to them. But we have to be very careful that we don't let our beliefs turn into arrogance. I'm right and you're wrong. That's why I wear that T-shirt that says, I may be wrong, but I doubt it. That's not arrogance. That's my attitude. I have the things that I believe. Oh my God, my mouse just quit. How come? Lost its Bluetooth connection again. I have this other mouse here. I'll turn it on and see if it works. Otherwise, I'm finished scrolling. Let's see here. Turn this on. There we go. That one works. This thing. I got this new cheap mouse, so I wouldn't accidentally hit that button. All right, there it is. It's on again. I just had to reboot it. Let me see if it works, or I have to use this mouse. Turn this mouse off. Nope. Lost the Bluetooth connection, so we'll go back to my old mouse with the button that I hit.
Might be time for a battery.
No, it's brand new. It's not the battery. I
Okay.
went through this once before. I did no. Yes, 949. I did find the bottom of the chat. There really were no QQQs.
Woo!
I may have missed it, but I did find it. So at any rate, all this talk is good. I mean, I think it's good. I think it's good for people with differing opinions on subjects. I don't care how important they are, to be able to debate, express their points of view, without taking their football and going home. A lot of times, it really helps if you understand where the other person's coming from. It is frustrating. I don't like conflict. I have a lifetime of conflict. I don't like to argue. Some people do. They're not happy unless they're fighting. How many marriages can you name that are like that? The only thing they got left is fighting. There's a question. I see a question. Yes. This mouse is backwards. There it is. I had a question. Does Walmart sell the Sam's Club burgers as you featured in your video? I'm sure they have something like it. I don't know. I don't shop Walmart very often, especially since I had my stroke. It's the same company. But
Sam's and Walmart are both under the same parent company, but
Yeah.
Sam's does have quite a few of their own items.
Oh, they do.
Yeah.
Yes, they do. You're right. You're right about that.
But they still have like Cokes and Pepsis too.
Yeah.
I think they have Pepsi. I'm not sure.
Well, let's hope so, because what would life be without
Sugar
Coke
water.
and Pepsi? Yeah, without sugar water. Let me fix my. Okay, I had to tell it to switch the button placement on my mouse, on this mouse. It's crazy. On the other mouse, it doesn't do that. Anyway, I think Tristan. I think that they probably have something very close to it. Sam sells them cheaper in bigger packages. But I went to Walmart one time looking for eggs before my stroke when we were having the egg shortage, and I found the Nellie's eggs there, which are great. Yeah, I used to joke about Sam's and Costco. The next time you need a 55-gallon drum of peanut butter, go to Sam's Club. Pallet loads.
I don't know if peanut butter comes in that size, but disturbingly enough, KY jelly does. Hollywood is the biggest user of it because they need slime and goo for so many things.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I never thought of that, but yeah, they probably do. And that's not even in a carnal type of environment. That's just for making
Well, I don't
the
know.
stuff
It's
they make.
Hollywood. Probably weird.
So now I'm trying to look through the chat. Walmart here. Ricky Lee says, "Thank you, Ricky." Ricky sent me. God, I have so much stuff I want to show you. Let me stop right here and just show you this. Wait a minute, I'll get it here. Okay, I'll just show you this. Got to show you this. This is our delegation to the. This is our delegation to the Boston meetup. Thomas and Lewis, and look how svelte is Yiddish for thin. Look how svelte these guys look. And Thomas is in a Mitch Fitz t-shirt. Very flattering. They sent me a bunch of pictures, and what I'll do is see if I can scroll through them. And let's see them real quick. Who's the girl?
Probably Lewis's wife.
Okay, I've never seen her before.
There was a mention of someone else that they were going to meet there who was also traveling.
And there's Lewis and Curry.
Yep.
Yeah, all these guys look great, don't they? Look at their complexions. Look at how young they look. They're not kids, none of them. But these are great pictures. There's from Healing Humanity. What's his name?
Adam.
Adam. I met Adam down in Sarasota. As Kelsey, not Kelsey, Nelson and Lewis.
Nelson has been looking a lot better lately.
Nelson is just
the changes are starting to show in Nelson's face.
Yeah, he's just a superb. They're both superb human beings. Both of these guys, I can truly say that is on the scale of caliber of human being. It'd be tough to top the two of these guys. And then this is Lisa Wiedemann. Trusting the power of the body to heal itself, given the proper nutrition and removing inflammatory foods. And that about sums it up, doesn't it? So
amazing how good you feel when you stop poisoning yourself.
Oh, man. And I was telling you the story a little earlier of how they screwed me up in the hospital and rehab. And it took me about a month. And during that month, I gained about 10 pounds. And during that time, I was experimenting. I thought I had to have the ice cream. I thought I had to, it was my addiction controlling me. But I'm not ashamed to admit it, that I'm weak in that department, as like everybody else is. And like I normally do when I don't like the way something's gone, before it gets out of hand, I just put my foot down. And about a month ago, I said, that's it. I am going back. No dairy, no cheese, just bacon and eggs and beef, fish, chicken. You know, I'm not a BBBE person, but I'm not going to eat anything that isn't animal based. I thought for a while that I needed carbs. A lot of people were telling me that none of them had any valid evidence of it, but if somebody gives you a theory after you had a stroke and you don't want to have another one, you consider everything here. So I'm considered, well, maybe it's my cholesterol. Do I need to be on a statin? Maybe it's this, maybe it's that. And I keep going back after I try to research it into the concept that we don't need anything other than the best nutrition. And the best nutrition for us is meat. At least if I wasn't a carbohydrate addict, a certain amount of carbs wouldn't hurt me, but I don't think it would make it any better either. But considering I'm a carbohydrate addict, why risk it?
There's so many of the things with carbs, though, are made with the oils that we know are really horrible.
I believe you. So it might not just be the carb itself, it's what it comes with. And that's the challenge, even when you're buying animal foods.
On the wheat and oats.
Yes, and when you're buying animal products, it's hard to know. They haven't messed them up either. This hospital I was in found new and wonderful ways to screw up bacon and eggs, for God's sakes. You know, I got bacon, yeah. What was it? It was high sugar turkey bacon. That's not the kind of bacon I usually eat. Eggs, cooked in seed oils, scrambled eggs. They just, anytime they can adulterate it, they do, because they don't know that's what they're doing. They think they're providing healthy meals. Most of them, however, are pure sugar. So in the past month, I have been back on carnivore. I have forgotten how good I can feel on carnivore. My belly that was beginning to plague me is going away. I'm starting to get my body is starting to look like it used to look, because I'll tell you, it doesn't take long for you to go to hell when you start adding fat, especially as small as I am and as thin as I was. The fat goes to all the wrong places right away. And I'm getting back. I stay off the scale, but I can see in the mirror, and I'm feeling better, I think. So carnivore is it. I'm going to make a video about is carnivore appropriate for someone recovering from a stroke. I'm going to tell that story.
Yes, it is.
I believe that 100%. I don't know what caused my stroke in the first place. It may be a condition I still have. I take the baby aspirins, but I don't take anything else that they suggested. I feel like at least I'm doing something, making something different. So, and thinning my blood is probably the best thing, a little bit, the best thing I can do. 10 o'clock already. Time flies when you're having fun. Here's a question for you. What's your favorite carnivore meal? Jerry Voitis asks.
Amazingly enough, it's along the lines of carpaccio. Raw beef.
Raw beef. No kidding. I can't bring myself yet to eat the raw beef. I just, sorry. I
I
watched
blame my
Kelsey.
dad. He introduced me to raw meat when I was pretty young. He'd stand there making burgers at the grill, and he'd break off a piece and eat it raw every now and then. It's like, Dad, why do you do that? And that came to mind while I was looking at the packages of shaved steak at the grocery store. It's like, I know the Italians do carpaccio, and I'm not going to do olive oil, but I can spread this out on a plate. I can put a little fine diced shallot on there. I can use butter or nothing and some salt. And I liked it.
I would probably like it too.
Turns out one of my aunties also likes it.
Yeah, Terry, she says her grandma ate ground beef, topped with raw white onion. Yeah, a lot of people eat onion with the beef. And I don't think it would hurt you. There's a little sugar in an onion, but I'm not of the opinion that vegetables will, kill you over dead the minute you stop chewing them. Gotta.
Second favorite would probably have to be a ribeye and some shrimp cooked.
Oh, that was Danny in Boston is who that was. That was Danny in Boston. I just got a Gmail. Sorry, that's what I was looking at. And let me see if I can bring it up here. I didn't know who that was, but let me open this up. And let you see it. That is Danny in Boston. Wow, that's great. Thanks for sending me that. And Lisa Wiedemann. Great picture. Great picture. Look at that. Look at those two. Beautiful women. White tea.
I have noticed that in the conservative world, there's a lot of bragging that the conservatives have the prettiest women. And then it's like, the carnivore world has the eye candy men too. Have you seen that, Dr. Abs? Oh my God. Ladies, if you have not seen Dr. Abs, find his channel.
I haven't seen Dr. Abs, but I'm not in any big hurry.
Well, that's why I was recommending him to the ladies.
Yeah. Well,
He also has given advice freely on his channel, as most of the doctors do, about things that help people. And I got a derma roller because of him. And it's helping.
cool.
All those
Cool.
deep crinkles you get across here, they're getting shallower.
Talking about iodine in the chat.
Iodine.
Yeah. Auto retirement specialist says he increases iodine to 20 drops. I don't know what you're trying to cure with it. I take 2 drops in my coffee in the morning. It's kind of prophylactic. I don't notice
even
any
want it
difference
in
when
my coffee. The taste of the stuff is weird enough. I'll mix it in some water with some electrolytes, but I will not put it in my coffee.
I don't even notice it in black coffee. I couldn't tell. You gave me 2 cups of coffee, one with 2 drops iodine, one not. And I could not tell you which was which. So
I bet if I gave you one with egg yolks and cream, you'd know which one it was.
I can't put stuff in my coffee. I tried that. I tried
Aaron's suggestion of putting a little butter, and some bacon dripping in, and it tasted like scrambled eggs. Yay!
Cool. Wayne
I've always
Herman
been a
says,
little
Mitch,
sensitive to eggs.
Wayne Herman says, I'm rolling today. I'm on a roll. I always on a roll. You get me started on a topic and off I go. I very rarely am at a loss for words, which can be a bad thing sometimes. Terry Sue says, you don't notice it in coffee at all. You do it in water, though. Yeah, it is metallic tasting.
When I put it in water, I add the electrolytes, and then I'm sipping that all day, and I don't notice it with the salt level of the electrolyte mixture.
I'm reading the chat. Laurie agrees with you. She says, I can't handle anything in my coffee. I've been doing that. That's what I take. I take my electrolyte mix that I mix up myself. Magnesium citrate, potassium chloride, and salt. Himalayan sea salt, fine grain. I mix that in about 40 ounces of water, unflavored. Has the slightest salty taste at that dilution, and that's where I get most of my water. Yep, same thing. That's the greatest thermos right there with the built-in straw. I swear by that. I swear by that. And I drink it all day, and I try to make sure I drink it all in the course of the day, which means I'm not going to be dehydrated. Danny Boston says, Mitch, I met Kilson Nelson, who are so great. They are great, and I'm looking so forward to our meetup on Wednesday here in Melbourne because they're both going to be here, and I consider those guys more than just acquaintances. They are well into the friend category, of which I don't have many. But
if Dr. Nelson's going to be there, give him a hug for me. He drops some absolutely golden information.
He's a smart guy, and he's got personal experience to back it up. He's a stroke survivor too.
And he was talking to somebody about something else, and he mentions how much of a resource hog the human brain is for something that's so small. It's a fraction, half of a fraction of your body mass, yet it gets something like 20% of your energy.
Yeah, it's
like, well, no wonder I've been dragging through the last couple years since my stroke, going, I have no energy. That thing's healing.
And I believe that's true. And not only that, but the connection between the brain and the muscles are just rebuilding themselves, and they're not as efficient. So it takes 10 times, for me, it seems like 10 times the energy to move a muscle on the right side of my body as it does on the left side of my body. I can feel
but knowing
the
that's why has really cut down the frustration for me.
Well, we all feel that way. I can identify with that because I worry, is it just me? But it's universal in recovery from stroke because the healing is happening in your brain. But while your brain has been unable to control those muscles, you get lost in those areas too.
Yeah.
You know, so you have to rebuild that as well. That's why you got to try to stay active. So it's a double-edged sword. They tell you, stay active. And you say, well, staying active will increase your energy. You say, I don't have the energy to stay active. You know, to do it. So
if I lean on the shopping cart with both arms, I can actually get up to a slight jog.
That's good. That's why I have that. I try during the course of the day when I'm home to do as much unsupported walking as I can. In fact, I did something today for the first time this morning. And it's always a game of firsts. I was in here setting up, getting ready for the live stream. I needed to go out to the kitchen and make my coffee. I walked from my office out to the kitchen, made the coffee, and walked back carrying the coffee with no support, no walker, no nothing. It's a little scary, but I'm at the point right now where I It would have to be something really stupid for me to fall, like trip over my own feet.
I'm good at that one. Now, I do keep my cane handy in my vehicle for times when I'm going in the grocery store by myself because it can reach the things on top shelf.
Cool. I'm not up to a cane yet for that. I can.
I'm not quite 5'2". That comes in handy.
Okay. When I go to the meetup Wednesday, I'm going to drive over. Because I have to walk from the parking lot in, and I'm going to use a roller walker instead of a cane because I want to be able to get around. With the roller walker, it's like you with a shopping cart. A lot of it's in your head. It's balance more than strength. I have the strength, but the balance is what fails me sometimes. And at least with your hand on something, you don't need to be leading it. It doesn't need to carry any of your weight, but just the certainty of balance that you get from it. Sometimes just taking a fingertip, you notice this, and touching a door frame with it, just touch the door frame, and balance is not an issue anymore because you're connected to something that's not moving.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when you let go, that and it better be fear of having a fall has to really be on your mind all the time because a fall could be the end of it for you. You fall wrong, hit your head on something, break a hip, it's over. So you got to be real careful.
Well, I've managed not to land on my hips, but I've taken skin off both knees.
Yeah,
and the heels of my hands since all this because I do fall.
How long ago did you have this thing?
The stroke is at almost 3 years. The last day of
It's
summer
been a long
this
time
year.
then, yeah. It can
will
take a
be
long
3 years.
time to get over
Yeah,
these,
it
can
does.
it? Yeah.
Like
yeah,
I said, I Tai Chi'd my way out of it.
I'm at 4 months now with this one, and I was totally, completely paralyzed on the right side. So I'm thrilled about my recovery, and I'll credit Carnivore for all of it. And I'm not afraid to say that. I can say that with some conviction. Even the therapists that I've had, physical therapist, occupational therapist, they said that the speed that I'm recovering, they've never seen it before. And I'm 78 years old. I mean, imagine if I was 40, the difference in healing. And I credit it to Carnivore because the thing that has to heal is your brain.
And it needs the fats.
It needs the fat. It needs the cholesterol. And if you're taking statins, like they wanted to put me on, trying to get my cholesterol down, somebody tell me, I don't care in what world, it makes sense to limit the amount of the material that your brain needs to heal itself. To artificially and on purpose and spend money on a drug to lower that when your brain needs as much of it as it can get. And fat too, because we are fatheads. Our brains are all fat and cholesterol.
Yeah.
Now there may be some reason why that somebody may be able to tell me why that didn't make sense. But to me it makes sense.
It doesn't make sense to me either. But Dr. Chafee had a video a while back about ketogenic athletes getting brain injuries. And he didn't mention stroke, but we're probably going to insert it anyway. If you already have ketones in your system, it makes the injury less of a concern.
I would think so. I wouldn't think so.
But the brain prefers ketones so much that if you have the ketones in your system, if you're ketogenic, basically like a carnivore, that you're going to have a better recovery. I'm like, there's another doctor dropping great little nuggets out there for us.
The movie says, how does the inside of that straw get clean? Well, the straw just comes off. You press it on and you take it off. You wash it like you would any other straw. You run water through it. You're not going to... They give you a little brush cleaner that you can stick down in there, too. But see,
it came with a kit. I could either have the straw sticking up or I could have this flip down.
Yeah.
It came with 2 caps and I think 3 straws. I'm not sure.
And it's all stainless steel. It's a beautifully made thing. And,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it comes with a carrying case and a carrying strap. And I mean, it's serious stuff. 20 something bucks. It's a beautiful thing. It's on my website, OldGuyCarnivore.com. There's a commercial for you today. I've been asked for coffee, have I? How about that?
That's where I got the link to find it.
Yes, thank you very much. But it's great. These are the things that I do use. That's how the straw is cleaned. And another question, Media Tues didn't want my PayPal name. You wanted Papa name? I don't know what that means. Papal name. Oh, papal name, not PayPal name.
Like Pope, whatever, the 19th
Yeah,
or
papal
whatever.
name. Yeah, all right. I thought I'm looking at that as is that Papa with an exclamation point? No, that's an L. Sorry about that misunderstanding. Carnivore Keith says he was a carnivore for 3 years before he finally quit Diet Pepsi. Such is the power of addiction.
Yeah.
Such is the power of addiction. Well, as long as we keep sitting here, these people will keep on chatting. We still got 100. Still got 100. And Rick found out yesterday what it's like when you get a crowd. He understood. Tried racing.
And on a day when he had to get off early.
Well, he didn't get off that early. I didn't stay until the end. Harry Rick says, I think Mitch is the fastest recovery I have seen yet. Well, I'm very happy. It seems like it's taking forever, but I can't imagine it taking years like that. I don't know. I don't know. It's going to be, my right hand is really improving. I mean, as far as my reaching out and working the mixer, I can actually almost sign my name now. When I couldn't write, I couldn't do anything, but it still feels, I still feel the tightness in the muscles. You know how when you try to move me, you can feel so much tighter than. But I try to, anything I can do with my right hand, I try to do it with my right hand, especially when I'm cooking and everything now. And that's physical therapy. That's physical therapy. Now I'm actually reading these things. Ricky Lee says you need to order a new Mueller 12-inch frying pan. Those are great pans. I keep 2 or 3 new ones at all times. I got them under my counter in the kitchen. I get 6 months to a year out of them, depending on how careful I am. Before I scratch them up, or they get too discolored. But when I buy them, whenever they go down to about $25, which they do,
That should be soon. I think mine's about a year old.
yeah, they're normally $35, but and even that's cheap enough. You know, for God's sakes, a couple of ribeyes cost more than that now, and I consider them disposable. So I buy 2 of them every time they go on sale, and put them away. And I always have. One time I made a mistake and heat damaged one of them, left it on without realizing it, and really ruined the coating. I threw it away and brought out a new one. It's a whole lot cheaper than the food we eat.
And cheaper than the health problems you can get from using damaged nonsticks.
That's for sure. But these things are free of every kind of forever chemical, so I wouldn't worry about them. And we don't really cook it. I use it for bacon and eggs primarily. When it comes to searing a steak, which I haven't been eating as many of because it's harder to eat and cut. But I'm at a point now where I can handle a knife pretty well in my right hand. So I'm back to at least that. And my son's going shopping for me. He's coming to the meetup Wednesday, and then he's going to run over to Sam's Club and pick me out a couple of $100 worth of good-looking ribeyes. I don't like when their shoppers pick. You order them for delivery, their shoppers pick them. They don't know how to pick the good from the bad. My son knows. Well, listen, we've almost been doing this for 2 hours, kid. I'm going to start thinking about winding it down, or we'd be here forever. We'd be here forever. Oh yeah, and I got to do this. This is the first of 6 consecutive days that are coming up. So I'll be back here tomorrow. Any last words for us? You want to talk about your channel where everybody can find you and watch what you're up to, Wendy?
I'm at the Feral Grandma on YouTube.
Okay. Do you have? I imagine most of your followers that you have are the same people that are here all the time.
Some of them.
Okay.
My repeat offenders.
Yeah. Well.
Because if you're not offending someone, are you really living the way you should be?
Well, I may think about that. That'd be a good rule of thumb for me. Try to offend somebody every day.
Our very existence, either as people who think for themselves or people who decide for themselves what they're going to eat, whatever. Something about your existence should leave somebody maybe on the other side of the planet, maybe someone you used to be married to, maybe someone down the street. They should be absolutely aghast that you aren't a duplicate of them.
I agree, and I have a coffee cup. You know that coffee cup that I have is it's a little political, but it says I'm a heterosexual white
How else
Republican.
can I offend you today?
How else can I piss you off today?
Yep.
But that's what we were talking about earlier. That people that think that they're right, everybody else is wrong, and everybody else has to believe what they believe, and if not, you're going to get even with them. Those people should be taken out behind the 7-Eleven and dispatched, because all they do is screw things up for everybody else over the course of their life.
Yeah, I believe what I believe, and I refuse to fight to the death with anybody about it. But if they come looking, I'm willing.
You have to, and I'll bet. I'm not coming after you. You scare me. All right, Wendy. Thanks so much.
Scary.
No, I'm joking. Thanks so much for coming today. I'm going to turn on some happy music and let people start saying goodbye to each other in the chat. And we'll say goodbye to you. So thanks so much for coming. I really enjoyed it. It wasn't that bad. See, somebody else volunteer for next Sunday. Just email me at OldGuyCarnivore@gmail.com. And if I don't get any, I might be calling Thomas, might be calling Rick. But I really love having somebody here on a Sunday. I'll try not to talk about politics or religion, but no promises. All right, really guys, you take care. See you later, Wendy.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, and that just leaves me. Thanks for coming, everybody. Thanks for hanging there with us for a couple of hours. Wow, wow, wow. Nowhere near Rick yet. Nowhere near Rick. But still achievable. Terry says, I'm so cute. Thank you, Terry. Yeah, that's me. Rick says, thank you, Mitch. We'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, I'll be here tomorrow. Smoothie. Thanks for Furrow Grandma. You're welcome. Thanks to Furrow Grandma. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Wendy. Bacon Baby, Quack, Quack, and Meathead, TC, Mitch. Terry Sue is laughing. And the happy music ended. On that note, it's Sunday. Have a great day, everybody. Have a great day. And take the rest of the day off. You know the drill. And eat meat.